So you must be wondering whether the Avata 2 is still worth the investment as a filmmaker or creator in 2026. You might also be wondering why the f I'm wearing FPV goggles and recording this in the bathroom. Well, I'm a filmmaker, and the lighting here just happens to be banging. It's time for another one of our unhinged ultimate drone tests. Now, we've had this guy for a while now, and we've got a few observations. Now, I assure you, we've tested this guy thoroughly from the perspective of a creator or filmmaker, and you're going to see some in-depth, internationally recognized tests.
Big, get the obstacle course ready. That looks good. She looks safe, ready to go.
We're going to answer whether this makes sense from the perspective of a complete beginner, someone who's never flown FPV before in their life. Then we'll look into what it offers, who it's actually for, and finally, does it make sense from the perspective of a professional filmmaker and their workflow. The drone will be evaluated in 7 categories: ease of use, speed, range, video quality, flippiness, FPV, bag, and crash durability. Let's get our hands dirty. Kicking things off with ease of use. Extremely important when it comes to something as daunting as flying an FPV drone. And of course, we've tested this in the only way we know how, taking it way too far and seeing if I can go from zero experience to flying it in full manual mode in just 3 hours. Here's how that went.
Right, I'm pretty sure it's going to be fairly intuitive, yeah? This whole instruction manual is giving me all the big un. It's going to be like riding a bike.
But you've never ridden
I've ridden
the
a bike,
before.
I have. Okay, we're ready. Okay. Here I am. I'm tilting the gimbal for now. Okay. Whoa! Hoppa!
I'd go a bit higher so you don't kill Casper.
Yeah, but I don't know how to go higher. That's going forward. But... Ah! Okay. Okay.
Explain full manual to the people.
I think full manual is literally what it says on the tin. Full manual. There's zero hover assist. I'm fully expecting I'll crash it, but that's part and parcel. I think this is where the fun's going to begin. In 3, 2, 1, go. It says impact detected. I'm in manual. Okay, okay, I see.
All right, go through some trees.
Oh no, it's going to end badly, that is.
Oh.
I can give it a bit of a whirl. Let's eat some trees.
Oh gosh, stop!
Oh!
Ding ding! DJI Care refresh.
She looks safe, ready to go. Whoppa! Yeah!
So the question is, can you learn to fly an FPV drone in a day?
And the answer is, apparently you can.
This drone has a multitude of modes that you can tailor to your flying level and to what you feel comfortable with. I knew this was going to happen. I bloody knew. We're giving it a 9 out of 10. I'm pretty confident that most people with any sort of experience flying regular drones, that's like non-FPV ones, can pick this up in a few days to a reasonable level. Speed. The Avata 2 is fast enough for the vast majority of applications. All of those landscape, urban, close passes, near misses, low passes over the ground, especially when you're shooting in 24 FPS, you've got the low shutter speed, you're getting the motion blur, the speed looks incredible. And the closer you are to objects, the more you can emphasize that high speed look. However, this gets a little bit more complicated when it comes to sports, or for that matter, any activity where you require the speed to track a subject, or when wind comes into play.
We're going to get steezy, as they say.
The speed was definitely a limiting factor for me. I filmed a lot of water sports in my time. However, in this case, not only could I not really keep up with him, I was also struggling to get any footage that was not 45 degrees Dutch angle because the wind at around 15-16 knots seemed to be just too much for the drone to handle.
It's twitchy, it's not happy about it.
While wind resistance may not come under the speed category, it is certainly relevant. This drone is quite a lot heavier and bulkier than your like cine whoops and the self builds that are very light and airy, and that does mean that it experiences more wind resistance, and therefore this does impact the top speed. The spec quotes the drone to have a top speed of nearly 58 kilometers an hour in sports mode, and that goes up to just shy of 100 kilometers an hour in full manual mode. We have to consider that top speed in manual obviously a little bit different, because a lot more here depends on the way you fly it and how far you're sort of willing to lean it and then full throttle it, let's say. It's not just a push a stick forward and wait for it to reach the top speed. However, I've got some bad news for the Europeans among us. That's us included. Instead of 97 kilometers an hour, we're down to 68. Honestly, for an FPV drone, I'm not sure if 68 kilometers an hour is actually enough. If you're looking to film some extreme sports, automotive stuff, for example, skiers, you're going to struggle to keep up with your subjects. And you have to remember, you don't just want that top speed to match that of your subject. You need at least like 30-40% leeway so that you can get creative with the angles, with the shots, get in front of your subject, accelerate past it, overtake. Since we're not entirely satisfied with the result in the speed category, we've decided to give it 0.054. Yeah, that's in Mach. It's the unit of speed that you would use to calculate the speed of like a fighter jet. Moving on to the next test. Range. Change of scenery, we're coming to you live from the Mobile Trio HQ, Dobby the van of course. We're at the beach, my brother is out there wing foiling and we're going to use him as a test subject. This is a really good place to do sort of a practical, real life range test because there's very little interference, so we should get, hopefully, a good line of sight range. Another category where I feel like us Europeans get a little bit let down. FPV drones, you're obviously relying on transmission. You're flying it through goggles, so you need to make sure that you have zero lags, that you've got reliable, decent quality transmission. And again, I've found it to be a little bit iffy at times. I got a real taste of this in Kvitfjell, Norway, when we were shooting a commercial for Sure. The moment I was behind any sort of terrain, I was losing connection very, very quickly. Not good. Pretty stressful. Now, I haven't tested the US and Canadian version. I don't know if it's much better. I do know, however, that with the classic drones that I've flown before, there is a massive difference. I did also test the range on a more like classic range test when we were filming the wing foiler.
The range in this kind of unobstructed environment seems really, really good. It's definitely far enough to film the vast majority of applications that we would use it for.
Quick insert here from editor Baz. I think I was being overly optimistic and excitable on the beach. As you can see from these two videos, the drone was actually cutting out and the signal was dropping below an acceptable feed at around 500-550 meters, even unobstructed. That's just not really good enough. To summarize, I think it's enough to get started with FPV, but if you're going to want to progress into that more demanding flying, through more obstacles, structures, etc., you're going to find it a limiting factor very, very early on. I think we're going to give it 1. 0.5 at best. At least it's not 0.05 full. Flippiness. What does that mean? Well, we're talking about its flight capabilities and how it feels in the air. It's a lot heavier and it's a lot bulkier than your cine whoops and, cine floop-de-doos. So what does that mean? Well, it flies a little bit less like a ballerina and a little bit more like maybe a bloke with a beer belly that still plays like Sunday League football. Like they're still kind of fast, but you can just feel that they've got momentum. They've got inertia. So you could mark it down a little bit in comparison to other FPV drones for that higher tankiness score. However, with the RC3 controller, that's that little fighter jet joystick one, it does have built-in acrobatic modes and functions. This makes Flippyness very, very accessible. So that would mean definitely marking it up in the Flippyness section. Since we're talking about flight, I think this is also a good category to mention battery life. The battery life is good. In practical use cases, I'm getting between 12, 13 minutes and 16, up to 16 minutes
depending on how much I'm ragging it about. Obviously, the Fly More combo comes with 3 batteries and triple charger. Once you've got that, you're sorted. I've never ever found that I don't have enough battery for any sort of practical scenario. I would also say that this battery life is significantly better than most custom build drones. So overall, Flippyness is a 6.5 out of 10. Would have been a 5.5, but I think the battery life, which is actually really good, takes it up a point to 6.5, yes. The final category before we move on to arguably the most important one of them all for filmmakers and creators like us, FPV. Wait, is that a yes out of 10? I guess that makes sense. You look through the goggles, you become the drone. That's a dictionary definition of FPV. And onto the techie specky, the DJI goggles N3 have a 1080p display and a 54-degree field of view, and I think a latency of 31 milliseconds. I don't know how to test that, so I think we're just going to move on. It's a yes in this category. On paper, this drone has everything. A 1 over 1.3 inch sensor that's capable of delivering 4K 60 at 4:3, so basically open gate, which makes it so much easier to deliver horizontal and vertical content. It also does 4K 100 FPS at 69, which is great for some slow-mo action, and a nice and wide f2.8 lens. I'm sold at this point. I don't need any more. But they've gone further. They've added the proper D-Log, the D-Log M profile as well. Surely this is leading to a 10 out of 10. Maybe an 11 out of 10. Well, not really. Sometimes the paper techie specky doesn't quite match up with the real techie specky. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad footage. Obviously, it's not going to match up to those mental custom builds. I don't know how people have the cojones to put the Reds and the Aries on FPV drones. Obviously, it's not going to match up to that. But it doesn't stick out too much from the custom builds that are using like the bare bones GoPros, for example. Let's dig deeper. Low light, I don't think this is a massive problem. I think it's decent enough for what it needs. Stabilization, terrible. I don't know what they've got here, this active, what is it called? Rock Steady 3.0. Absolute bumhole. It's not really usable. Strange jello effect, not being able to cope with the vibrations going through the drone. This gets a lot worse the more aggressive you fly as well. So when you're putting some forces through the drone, this just gets worse and worse and worse. In straight, like level flight, it's okay, but still occasionally you'll get this weird sort of warping. And what's more, it's almost impossible to take out in post-production using like your standard, Final Cut Pro or DaVinci or Premiere. There is a solution, and that is to turn off all of the stabilization. Anything you can find, turn it off. The issue is then the footage looks like this. And in order to achieve anything usable, you now need to run it through a separate third-party software called GyroFlow. Thankfully, DJI gives us all of the gyro data from the flight that we can input directly into GyroFlow and stabilize it to get a proper, nice, stable footage that looks like this. It looks great, but let's be honest, it does add a significant barrier to entry to getting your footage ready and then getting it into an edit and then getting it out there. Unless you are a, let's say, power user, like a filmmaker or content creator, are you really going to have the patience or the time to be going into a third-party software, fooling around with the settings that look very sciencey and techy, and getting, usable footage? I appreciate we lumped a bunch of things into here, so let's keep it very simple. Video quality is pretty good. For the camera size, for the price, I'm happy. Stabilization, terrible. Well, where does that leave us? A 7 out of 10. That's where it leaves us. We've calculated that using scientific formula. Overall, as long as you're patient, you can come out with really nice footage from this drone. And the final category, the one you've all been waiting for. It's good. It's still flying. We've crashed it a few times. There's been no issues. So I think that's as good as you can really expect it. So 8.5 out of 10. And I'm only docking the 1.5 points because I blame the drone for a couple of crashes that I've had because it's not quite as nimble as it should be for an FPV. So bag. I mean, we all love a nice bag. And this has a particularly nice bag that fits all of your accessories, all of your controllers, batteries, goggles, spare propellers in a tiny, neat package.
yeah, I'm here for it. For the bike, it's getting 12 out of 10. F, G, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7. Amazing. I hope you're still here. It's time to summarize. I'm going to try and keep it brief, but this is a very hard drone to give you a recommendation on. On the one hand, it's very fun to fly.
Whoa! Hoppa!
It's very accessible for people who have zero experience flying FPV.
I'm an aviator.
And very quickly work their way up to flying at a level that's going to make your mates go, wow. And realistically, we could just leave it there because I kind of think that that is the main purpose of this drone. For your first ever FPV drone, you're not going to be disappointed. This is probably a great setup for you. And what's more, DJI have just dropped the price, so it's going to be at, its lowest ever price and even more affordable. I mean, we're going to put an affiliate link down below. If you use it, it helps to support our channel. This isn't a sponsored video or anything like that, so no pressure whatsoever. However, the big question is this a good tool for filmmakers like ourselves? It does still have that action cam look, which can be very hard to mitigate or get rid of in post-production. You're working your socks off in color grading, de-sharpening, lowering the contrast, that sort of artificial feel. And no matter what you do, it's still going to look out of place with your FX3, S5, mirrorless DSLR cinema camera footage. When you pair this with the fact that to get even anything remotely usable, you really need to turn off all the stabilization in the drone and then run it through the GyroFlow app, it starts sounding like a list of disadvantages. I found it really difficult to fit the FPV drone footage into my edits. I'm talking here about the pacing. I think it works great in Sam Calder, Beautiful Destinations, those kind of fast travel montage, but for most cinematic sequences or films, there's kind of no need for it, and it just doesn't make that much sense as a storytelling tool. The reality is, we haven't used our Avata 2 anywhere near as much as I would have liked. Generally, our drone usage has come down a lot. They're not quite as snazzy as they used to be. Everyone's got a drone. Your uncle's probably got a drone. They don't really have that wow factor anymore. I often find myself thinking, well, I'm not that good a pilot. I don't practice enough to get the epic shot. And if it's just going to be a mediocre FPV shot, is it really worth taking it on the shoot? And more often than not, the balance of the argument ends up being, nah, let's leave it at home. And let us know in the comments if you've got an Avata 2 and how you find it, or if you're planning to pick one up, what you're hoping to do with it. Just let us know something in the comments. See you in the next one. Love ya. Oh, and if you want to see like our first impressions when we very first got the Avata 2, there's a link in the description, or click up here. We did that a while ago. It's really fun, and it shows you that whole process of actually taking it out of the box to learn how to fly it all in a very short space of time. So yeah.